Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Catherine and today I am going to be contouring and highlighting using the new Colourpop No Filter Concealer and the new Colourpop Pressed Bronzers and Highlighters. So I already have my foundation and my eyebrows done, so I'm just going to jump right in with the concealing, contouring, and highlighting. I picked up these shades in the concealer, Fair Neutral 15 and Medium Tan, I believe it's called, which was number 55. To say the shade range of these concealers was disappointing would be kind of an understatement. I remember when Colourpop came out, it was like this really cool, affordable brand, and everyone was super excited because it would show all their products swatched on a bunch of different skin tones, so it seemed to like really be catering to everyone. But then when it came time to like have a product that actually caters to all skin tones, they didn't really pull through there. So I'm hoping they fix that as soon as possible, because makeup should definitely be accessible to everyone, not just people of certain skin tones. But that being said, let's get started. So I'm going to start out with concealing, and the wand on this is like a flat concealer wand, like there's no like doe foot to it, it's just that. I'm going to start out by carving out my eyebrows. I think this shade's pretty good for me. It might be a little more yellow than what I'd normally use, but in terms of like a highlighting concealer, it's definitely the right amount of lightness. Though I'm not sure if this will oxidize or not. It seems to be like pretty thick, but it feels really creamy. Like I don't know how to describe the texture. Like feels very moisturizing, I guess, but not like heavy. Definitely goes a long way. Like that's 2 swipes, or 2 dips into the concealer, and I've basically covered my whole face. It does kind of look like it's oxidizing a little bit on this eye and under my nose and up here already. So hopefully it doesn't look too dark as I start to blend it out into my skin, but we shall see. And I'm just going to use this beauty sponge from Amazon to blend this out. I'm going to blend my under eyebrow into my eyelid because I want to see how this concealer holds up as sort of an eye primer. Sometimes I use Shape Tape or Maybelline Fit Me in place of an actual eyeshadow primer, and they hold up pretty well, so I want to test how this holds up as well. It doesn't look too horribly dark. It does kind of seem like orangier than my skin tone, but I also feel like my foundation might actually be a little lighter than it should be right now. I just used the L'Oreal Pro Glow in the shade Ivory, and I think I should have mixed that because I'm a little tanner right now than I normally am. It's blending out super nicely. It has good coverage. You can still see some of my under eye bags poking through, but they kind of are always there, just ever prominent in my life. So this is just with my highlighting concealer on. It did oxidize like a little bit, but I think it still looks pretty good. It's not like super highlighting, but it's also not darker than my foundation, I don't think. The texture so far is really nice. It doesn't look cakey or anything. It blends into my skin really well. It's not horribly accentuating my under eye creases or my giant pores that love to always show through. It just is kind of sitting, I'd describe it as a satiny finish, I'd say. It looks pretty natural. It's not matte or dewy. So yeah, let's move on to contouring. Now, like I said, I picked up the shade 55 Medium Tan, and it is a little bit more golden than it looked in swatches. For comparison, this is what I normally use to contour my face. It's the NYX Sculpt and Highlight Face Duo in the shade Taupe/Ivory. So you can see that the Colourpop is just a little bit warmer than the NYX is. I don't think it'll be too bad, so let's just see how this goes. So I'm gonna dip in, and I am gonna wipe a little bit off the edges because I never want too much product when I'm contouring my face, otherwise it just looks muddy. So I'm gonna be getting this in the hollows of my cheek down to about like the corner of my eye. So yeah, that like lines up with the outer edge of my eye. And then I just do the tip of my nose and then I blend it up. Otherwise my nose looks way too dark and unnatural. So I do it like this. And then I do the outer corners of my forehead. I don't ever do any sort of like jawline or chin contouring. It's not really my thing. I always think it's a little bit excessive. Okay, this does look pretty orange. Okay, this is definitely like a lot more warm than I would normally contour with. It's also blending out a lot more than I was expecting, so it kind of have a lot of product on for what I'm doing right now. Okay, like you seriously don't need a lot of this at all. Like this is super intense looking with just the little bit that I used. So like seriously use such a light hand when you're using this. I am noticing this shade sort of oxidizing a bit as well. So I'm not really sure, like it kind of just looks orangey. Probably gonna go in with my little beauty sponge and lessen the intensity of that. So I give it, as a highlighting concealer, a thumbs up. As a contour shade, not so much for my skin tone personally. I've seen so many beauty gurus use this shade to contour and it did not look this orange. I guess they have more warm undertones than I do. Yikes. Okay, so I'm going to take my beauty sponge, which still has a little bit of concealer on it, and kind of blend that out to soften up how dark this contour shade is, because I don't want to look like an Oompa Loompa, and that's kind of how it's going right now. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit more of this shade 15 and go down the center of my nose and right into here and blend that out to help soften up the contour. Now I didn't use a huge amount of product. This might work better with even less product than I use. Like seriously, use a light hand. Can't emphasize that enough. And then I didn't really see a whole lot of like cool toned browns in the shade range, but they do oxidize, so be warned. Okay, that doesn't look so bad. A little warmer than I'd normally go for, but I also don't look like I got a really bad spray tan, so that's good. Now I'm just going to set my under eye. And I'm going to be using the RCMA No Color Powder. I'm just going to spritz this sponge with the Mario Badescu Rose Water. Dip it into the powder and set my under eye. Okay, so while that is setting, I'm going to do my eye makeup and I'll be right back to test out the pressed powder, bronzer, and highlighter. Alrighty, so I am all done with my eye makeup. I used the Carli Bybel palette and the Colourpop Super Shock Shadow. Wow, try saying that 3 times fast. In the shade Birthday Girl. I just did a really simple dusty rose and gold look. With a wing, I used the Stila Stay All Day liner. And I brushed off all the powder. I don't really know how to explain what I'm trying to say. I guess the concealer really or like the powder like really adhered to the concealer, I guess. Like, it doesn't look powdery, but it just looks really, really matte. And normally like that powder just like completely brushes off, leaving like a very like satiny finish, I guess. So it's just a different texture than what I'm used to. But I do like how it looks. It looks pretty like airbrushed and flawless, I'd say, and it feels just like really soft. I need to stop touching my makeup. But yeah. So I'm going to go into the pressed bronzer and highlighter now. So I picked up the shade Afternoon Delight and Boujee Call. Afternoon Delight looked like the coolest bronzer tone, like in terms of color, not like, oh, that's the coolest one. But yeah, so this one I'd say is like it's like a warm taupe, I'd say. It's definitely not cool toned, but it's cooler than the others. And then this, I'd say, it's like a champagne-y with like a little bit of a rose tint to it. Honestly, I'm not sure how this is gonna look on me. Like, I wanted like a golden highlighter, but this might be a little dark for my skin tone. I probably should have gotten this shade here, Kitty Kitty, but we'll see how it goes. So for the bronzer, I'm going to take this big fluffy Morphe brush that doesn't have a name on the handle. It's from the Rose Gold collection. I'm just going to dab it into that. And there is a mirror on the compact, which is really nice. And I'm going in super lightly because I don't want to make the same mistake I did with the concealer. I definitely like this shade in terms of a bronzer. It's nice and warm without looking orange. It's blending out pretty well. Shows up well on the skin, the texture's nice. There's a little bit of like powdery fallout in the compact, but it's an $8 bronzer, like, who's gonna complain? Just gonna bronze up my temples as well, if I can get my hair out of the way. Just a little bit under my chin. So first impressions, I'm probably going to reach for like this bronzer a lot more than I'm going to reach for the concealer in terms of bronzing and contouring. I think it's a lot more flattering and easy to work with than the concealer was. I like how this looks on my skin. Probably not like a winter shade, but it does look pretty nice. Now for the highlighter, and I've actually never tried the Super Shock highlighters. I've just never gotten around to it. So I'm actually not going to be able to compare this. Oh, that looks really nice. Okay, I'm not one for subtle highlighters, but I actually like the subtlety of this one. Like, it's giving like a really soft gold sheen to my cheekbone, without being like, like you can see your reflection in my highlighter. And I think part of why this isn't such a strong highlight is because of the shade because of the shade I chose. This is definitely like pretty close to my natural skin tone. So I think if you got like a lighter shade, or if you got a shade lighter than your own skin tone, it would be more of an in-your-face highlight. This does look pretty nice. It is emphasizing my skin texture a little bit right here. I have some larger pores here, but nothing too major. Trying to be real gentle with this. Blend it into the contour. I'm gonna use my finger for my nose. And out and out. Okay, so I'm actually really pleasantly surprised by this highlighter. When I opened this up, I was like, oh my god, this is not gonna work for me at all. But this is a beautiful, subtle highlighter on me. The texture is really nice. It's not like too dry. It's definitely not like creamy like some highlighters are. Like the highlighter in the Carli Bybel Deluxe palette is so creamy, like those two bar thingies. If you have it, you know what I'm talking about. But it applied really nicely, and I didn't even apply it wet. I'm actually gonna wet my brush and see how intense the highlight is. Just using the Wet n Wild Photo Focus setting spray. That definitely brings out the intensity. It also emphasizes the texture a little bit more, so I'm not so sure how I feel about working with this wet, but I'll definitely play around with it some and see. Okay, that definitely made it more intense, but it's still more subtle than what I would normally use. So yeah, I would definitely give both of these a thumbs up, especially for the price. It's $8 for each one in the compact and $7 for just the pan. So for $16 you can get your own little customized bronzer and highlighter duo, which is pretty cool. So I'm just gonna go do my mascara and lipstick, and I'll be right back for my final thoughts. Hey guys, so I was filming and my mic died, but I'm back now for my final thoughts on the products. Overall, I would give everything a thumbs up. The only thing that didn't work for me was using the concealer to contour, and that's just because of the color I picked up. It has nothing to do with the consistency or anything. Price-wise, everything's a really great price. The little pressed powder the pressed powder compacts are only $8 each, and the concealer is only $6. I did look up my favorite drugstore concealer, which is the Maybelline Fit Me, and normally runs the same price in drugstores, and that is 0.23 ounces versus the Colourpop is only 0.14. But the Colourpop is definitely more coverage than the Maybelline Fit Me is, so overall I think it's a pretty good deal. So yeah, that's about all I have to say on the products that I tested out today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you have any products you want me to test out, let me know and I'll make sure to try and get my hands on them. I'll see you guys later.